Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are going to be tackling something pretty complex and pretty fascinating. We're going to be diving into the world of quantum computing.
Yeah, it's a really interesting area right now. There's a lot going on. So
Yeah.
we're going to be looking at an article called "The Mysteries of Quantum Computing: How It Could Change the World." And like the title suggests, we're going to be trying to figure out not only how this technology works, but what it could mean for all of us.
You know, I always hear quantum computing thrown around as this like super futuristic technology, but
Yeah.
I got to be honest, I don't really know what it is or what it could do. So
Yeah.
hopefully by the end of this deep dive, I'll have at least a slightly better grasp on this mind-bending technology.
You and me both. I think a lot of people are in the same boat. It's one of those things that sounds incredibly complex and maybe even a little bit intimidating. But the truth is, quantum computing is starting to move from those labs into the real world. And that's where things get really interesting, because the potential applications of this technology are mind-blowing, seriously.
Okay.
We could be talking about changes that sound like they're straight out of a science fiction movie.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. So let's start with the basics.
hmm
What exactly is quantum computing? I mean, I know it's different from the computers we use every day, but how?
The best way to understand it is to think about the computers we're all familiar with. Our laptops, phones, even those massive supercomputers. They all rely on bits, which are like tiny switches that can be either on or off, representing a 1 or a 0.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like a yes or no kind of system.
Exactly. Now, quantum computers use something called qubits. And instead of just being on or off, a qubit can be in a state called superposition, which is kind of like being both on and off at the same time.
Whoa, hold on. So it's not just a yes or no anymore. It's like a maybe or both.
Precisely. And that's one of the key things that makes quantum computers so powerful. Because a qubit can be in multiple states at once. A quantum computer can perform calculations on a massive scale, exploring tons of possibilities
Yeah.
simultaneously. It's like running millions of calculations all at the same time on a single machine.
So if I'm getting this right, a quantum computer could solve a problem in an hour that would take a regular computer like thousands of years to figure out.
Oh.
Is that even possible?
It's not just possible, it's already been demonstrated. In
Mhm.
2019, Google's quantum computer Sycamore performed a calculation in just 200 seconds. That same calculation would have taken the world's most powerful supercomputer at the time. Something like 10,000 years.
Okay, yeah, that's not just a speed boost. That's like time travel.
Yeah.
How does it actually work? What's going on inside these quantum computers that gives them this crazy power?
It all comes down to the principles of quantum mechanics, which is a whole other rabbit hole we could go down. But for now, let's just say that in the quantum world, things behave very differently than they do in our everyday experience. We've already talked about superposition, but there's also something called entanglement, where two qubits can be linked together in such a way that if you change the state of one, the other one instantly reflects that change, no matter how far apart they are.
Okay, now that is messing with my head. So we've got superposition, where a qubit can be in multiple states at once.
Uh-huh.
And we've got entanglement, where two qubits are like telepathically connected. And there's one more. Right, quantum tunneling.
You got quantum tunneling is another mind-bending concept where particles can essentially pass through barriers that would normally be impossible to cross. It's like walking through a wall. And this ability to tunnel allows quantum computers to explore a much wider range of possibilities, making them incredibly efficient at solving certain types of problems.
So we've got superposition, entanglement, and quantum tunneling, all working together to give these quantum computers their almost unbelievable power. But let's bring it back down to Earth for a second. What does all of this actually mean for us? What can we actually do with this technology?
That's the question that has everyone so excited and maybe a little bit worried. One of the most talked about possibilities is breaking encryption.
Okay, now we're talking about some serious spy thriller stuff.
Huh?
Our entire digital world bank accounts, passwords, everything relies on encryption to stay safe. Are you saying quantum computers could crack all of that?
It's a very real possibility. A lot of today's encryption methods, like the RSA and AES algorithms, rely on mathematical problems that are incredibly difficult for classical computers to solve.
So they're using math to create codes that are practically unbreakable.
Exactly. But a quantum computer using something called Shor's algorithm could theoretically break those codes in a fraction of the time.
So everything we think is secure online could be vulnerable. That's kind of scary.
It's definitely a concern. But the good news is that this threat has sparked a whole new field of research called post-quantum cryptography.
So they're basically building new quantum-proof defenses.
Precisely. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, is actually leading the charge in developing and standardizing these new encryption methods.
Okay, that's reassuring to know that people are already on top of this.
Hmm.
But encryption breaking aside, what are some of the more positive potential applications of quantum computing?
Let's start with healthcare. Imagine a world where we can design drugs tailored to your specific DNA or simulate incredibly complex biological processes to understand diseases at a much deeper level. That's the kind of revolution that quantum computing could bring to medicine.
That sounds incredible. I mean, who wouldn't want a drug designed specifically for their body? But how would that even work?
It all comes down to the ability to simulate molecular interactions with amazing accuracy. Right now, simulating complex molecules is a massive challenge for classical computers, but quantum computers could potentially handle these calculations with ease.
Are there any examples of this happening already?
IBM, for instance, has used its quantum computers to simulate the energy states of the beryllium hydride molecule, which might not sound like much, but it's a significant step towards solving more complex chemistry problems that could have huge implications for medicine.
So faster drug discovery, personalized medicine, a deeper understanding of how diseases work. It's mind-blowing stuff. But I have to ask, what else can these quantum machines do? We've covered spying and medicine already. What other fields could they revolutionize?
How about artificial intelligence or AI? Imagine giving AI a brain boost unlike anything we've ever seen, allowing it to learn faster, solve even more complex problems, and potentially reach entirely new levels of intelligence.
So instead of just having smart AI, we'd have super intelligent AI. That's both exciting and a little terrifying.
It definitely raises some interesting questions, and we're already seeing glimpses of this potential. For example, Volkswagen used a quantum computer to optimize traffic flow in Beijing, a city known for its incredibly complex traffic patterns.
Well, if quantum computers can handle Beijing traffic, they can probably handle anything. But what about other areas, like finance or even the fight against climate change? Could quantum computing make a difference there too?
Absolutely. In finance, quantum computers could analyze market risk in real time and make incredibly complex predictions, potentially giving traders a huge advantage. And when it comes to climate change, quantum computers could help us understand and mitigate its effects by optimizing energy grids and improving climate prediction models.
Wow, it really seems like the potential applications are endless. But let's be real for a second. There have to be some limitations, right? Quantum computing can't be a magical solution for every problem.
You're right, quantum computing is still in its early stages, and there are some significant hurdles to overcome. One of the biggest challenges is error rates. These machines are incredibly sensitive to noise and interference. Even the tiniest disturbance can throw off their calculations, leading to errors.
So it's kind of like a delicate balancing act, keeping these quantum computers happy.
In a way, yes. Researchers are working hard to develop techniques to make these systems more robust and reliable. But it's a major challenge. Another big hurdle is scalability. Building quantum computers with lots of stable qubits is a massive engineering challenge.
And I imagine all of this comes with a pretty hefty price tag, right? These things can't be cheap to build or maintain.
You're absolutely right. Quantum computing hardware is incredibly expensive. It requires very specialized environments to operate. We're talking near absolute zero temperatures. All of that adds up to a significant investment.
So it sounds like we're still a ways off from having quantum computers in our homes.
Sure.
But realistically,
Yeah.
when do you think this technology will become more common? Will we see widespread adoption in our lifetime?
That's a tough question to answer for sure, but most experts believe it'll be at least another 20 to 30 years before we see widespread adoption of quantum computing.
So not quite tomorrow, but not some distant science fiction future either. It sounds like a lot could happen in the next couple of decades.
Exactly. And it's an exciting time to be watching this field unfold. Companies like Google, IBM, and Microsoft are investing heavily in quantum computing. And there are also some incredible startups like Rigetti and IonQ exploring new and innovative approaches. It's a very dynamic space.
Definitely a lot to keep an eye on. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, there's another crucial aspect of quantum computing that we need to discuss. One that goes beyond the technical challenges, ethics.
You're absolutely right. With any powerful new technology come ethical considerations, and quantum computing is no exception. We've already touched on the potential threat to privacy if encryption can be broken, but there are other concerns as well.
Like what? What are some of the ethical issues that we need to be thinking about when it comes to quantum computing?
Well, for one, think about the potential for economic disruption. Entire industries could be upended by the arrival of quantum computing. Jobs could be lost, and the balance of power could shift dramatically.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how it could impact society as a whole.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of access inequality. Will quantum computing just widen the gap between the haves and have-nots? Will this technology be accessible to everyone, or will it be concentrated in the hands of a select few?
These are some seriously big questions that we need to be thinking about right now,
Yeah.
not just when the technology is fully mature.
I couldn't agree more. The choices we make today will shape how this technology is developed and used, and ultimately determine whether it becomes a force for good or something we come to regret.
Well, this has definitely been a thought-provoking deep dive so far. We've covered a lot of ground from the fundamental principles of quantum computing to its mind-boggling potential applications, the technical challenges it faces, and the ethical considerations we can't afford to ignore. But we're not done yet. There's still so much more to explore.
In our next segment, we'll delve deeper into the current state of quantum computing research, the different approaches being developed, and what the future might hold for this game-changing technology.
Stay tuned, folks, because things are about to get even more fascinating.
Welcome back to our deep dive into all things quantum. Before the break, we were talking about some of the potential applications of this tech, like revolutionizing medicine, AI, even things like how we fight climate change. We also touched on the challenges, the error rates, the cost, and some of those big ethical questions we need to be thinking about.
Yeah, it's a lot to wrap your head around, for sure. But I'm curious about the research itself.
Hmm.
Like, how are scientists actually trying to build these quantum computers? Is there just one way to do it?
Yeah.
Or are there different approaches being explored?
That's a really good question, and it speaks to how quickly this whole field is developing because
Uh,
there isn't just one way to build a quantum computer. There are actually several different approaches, and
Yeah.
each one has its own advantages and disadvantages.
So it's like a quantum race with different teams trying to find the best solution.
Exactly. One of the leading approaches right now uses what are called superconducting transmon qubits. Basically, these are tiny electrical circuits that have to be kept at incredibly low temperatures, like a fraction of the degree above absolute zero.
Whoa, hold on. A fraction of a degree above absolute zero. That's colder than outer space. Why do they need to be kept so cold?
It all comes down to maintaining the delicate quantum states of those qubits at higher temperatures. The heat we experience every day, that thermal energy, can actually disrupt those states and cause errors in the computations. It's like trying to build a house of cards in a windstorm. So keeping things super cold helps to minimize those disruptions.
Okay, that makes sense. So superconducting qubits, check. What other approaches are in the running?
Another promising avenue is something called trapped ion quantum computing. In this approach, individual atoms or ions are held in place using electromagnetic fields, and their quantum states are manipulated using lasers.
Wait, we're talking about controlling individual atoms with lasers. That sounds like something straight out of Star Wars.
It's definitely high tech, but it's showing a lot of promise. Companies like IonQ and Honeywell are leading the way with this approach, and they're getting some really impressive results in terms of qubit stability and something called coherence times.
Coherence times. Okay, that's a new one for me. What does that mean in the context of quantum computing?
Think of it like a measure of how long a qubit can stay in its quantum state before it gets messed up by noise or interference. The longer the coherence time, the more complex and reliable the computations can be.
So longer coherence time equals a more stable and powerful quantum computer.
Got it. Are there any other contenders in this quantum race that we should know about?
Absolutely. There's photonic quantum computing, which uses particles of light called photons as qubits. This approach is interesting because photons are very resistant to noise, and they can travel long distances without losing their quantum information.
So photons are like the marathon runners of the quantum world. They can go the distance without getting tired.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's topological quantum computing, which is a bit more complex, but it has the potential to create qubits that are incredibly robust and error-resistant. Okay, I might need a physics degree for that one. But it sounds like there's a whole smorgasbord of different approaches being developed. It's fascinating that there isn't one clear winner yet.
That's right. The field is still evolving rapidly, and it's likely that different approaches will be better suited for different types of problems. It's even possible that we'll see hybrid approaches emerge, combining elements of different technologies to create even more powerful quantum computers.
So it's not a winner-take-all situation. It's more like a collaborative effort to unlock the full potential of quantum computing.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that makes this field so exciting. There's a real sense of shared purpose, a drive to push the boundaries of what's possible and see where this technology can take us.
That's inspiring. Okay, so we've got these different teams racing towards a quantum finish line. But what does that finish line even look like? What's the big picture here? How do you envision this technology transforming our world in the coming decades?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think it's safe to say that quantum computing will have a profound impact on nearly every aspect of our lives. We've already touched on some of the potential revolutions in medicine materials, science, and AI, but the implications go far beyond that.
So paint us a picture. What does a future shaped by quantum computing look like to you?
Imagine a world where we can design completely new materials with properties that we can only dream of today. Super strong, lightweight materials for building things like spacecraft, or materials that can capture and store solar energy with incredible efficiency. Quantum computing could unlock a whole new era of materials discovery.
So we're not just talking about better computers. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we create and interact with the world around us.
Exactly. And it goes beyond materials. Think about things like personalized medicine tailored to your unique genetic makeup, or ultra-efficient energy grids powered by renewable sources. The possibilities are truly mind-boggling.
It's both exciting and a little bit overwhelming to think about the scale of the changes that could be coming. But we have to be realistic, right? Every new technology comes with its own set of challenges and potential downsides. We've already talked about some of the ethical concerns like privacy and economic disruption. Are there any other potential pitfalls we should be aware of as quantum computing becomes more powerful and more widespread?
One of the biggest concerns is the potential for misuse. Like
Yeah.
any powerful tool, quantum computers could be used to develop even more dangerous weapons or to create sophisticated surveillance systems that could erode our privacy in ways we can't even imagine yet.
So it's a double-edged sword. The same power that could lead to incredible breakthroughs could also be used for harmful purposes.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations about the ethical implications of quantum computing now. As the technology is still developing, we need to establish guidelines and safeguards to ensure that it's used responsibly and for the benefit of all humanity.
It's a powerful reminder that technological progress shouldn't happen in a vacuum. We need to be thinking about the societal impact and make sure that we're steering this technology in the right direction.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about the incredible potential of quantum computing, the challenges in building these machines, and the ethical considerations we need to address. But before we wrap things up, I'm curious about something. All of this sounds incredibly complex. Where can everyday people go to learn more about quantum computing? Are there resources out there for those of us who aren't physicists or computer scientists?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. I mean, it's all very fascinating, but it also seems like you need a PhD to even scratch the surface.
You'd be surprised. There are actually a lot of great resources available for anyone who's interested in learning more about quantum computing. Many universities and research institutions offer online courses and tutorials. There's some fantastic books and articles out there. And some organizations even have interactive platforms that let you experiment with quantum computing simulations.
So even if I don't have a background in physics, I can still get a taste of what quantum computing is all about.
Absolutely. It's all about sparking curiosity and making this knowledge accessible to everyone. For example, IBM has a platform called IBM Quantum Experience that gives anyone with an internet connection access to real quantum computers.
Wow, so I can actually try out a quantum computer from my living room. That's
Wow,
amazing.
exactly. The tools and resources are out there. It's a great time to dive in and explore this fascinating field.
I might just have to do that. Well, this has been an incredible journey into the quantum realm so far. We've covered so much ground, from those mind-bending qubits and superposition to exploring the potential of this technology to revolutionize medicine, material science, and AI.
And we've talked about the challenges of building these incredibly complex machines and the ethical considerations we need to address. It's a lot to take in, but it's clear that quantum computing is a field with immense potential, and it's a conversation that we all need to be a part of.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll wrap up our deep dive with some final thoughts and takeaways. Stay tuned.
And we are back for the final stretch of our deep dive into the quantum realm. It's been a wild ride, right?
Yeah, no kidding. We've gone from superposition and entanglement to talking about revolutionizing medicine and even potentially creating super intelligent AI.
It's mind-blowing stuff. But I think what really struck me is the ethical considerations we talked about.
Yeah,
This technology has the potential to be incredibly beneficial, but it also comes with some risks that we need to be very careful about.
absolutely. It's not just about the science and the engineering. It's about the impact that quantum computing could have on society as a whole.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways that you hope our listeners will remember?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that quantum computing isn't science fiction anymore. It's here. It's
Yeah.
happening. And it has the potential to change our world in ways that we can barely even imagine right now. It's like we're on the cusp of something truly revolutionary. But it's up to us to shape how this revolution unfolds.
Exactly. We need to be informed, we need to be engaged, and we need to be prepared to navigate both the opportunities and the challenges that this technology presents.
And the good news is that there are so many resources available for anyone who wants to learn more and get involved. It's not just for scientists and engineers anymore. There are online courses, books, articles, even platforms where you can experiment with quantum computing yourself.
It's all about sparking curiosity and making this knowledge accessible to everyone because ultimately, the future of quantum computing is something that we all need to be a part of shaping.
Well said. So to our listeners out there,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the quantum realm. I hope you found it as fascinating and thought-provoking as we did.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The quantum world is full of mysteries and possibilities, so keep exploring, keep learning, and who knows, maybe one of you listening right now will be the one to make the next big breakthrough in this incredible field.